Hey guys, and welcome back to the Level 4 Beginner Guitar course. Hope you guys are doing alright with the legato runs that we were working on before. This final technique, well, second from final technique that we're going to be looking at is the tapping section. I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction to tapping with two hands, just to let you know what it's like, give you a feel for it, and give you a couple of exercises that will help you develop your tapping playing, so that it is at least a technique that you know what it sounds like, how to go about doing it, and then if you want to take it further, you can take my tapping course over at rexpearson.com and really blow people away with your tapping skills. So let's get started then. I'll give you a quick definition of tapping and a quick exercise on developing. Okay, tapping is mostly used as an electric guitar technique for lead players, and the definition of tapping is using the right hand to kind of extend what you can play with the left hand. So if you wanted to play a pentatonic scale, or what we've been covering so far, and you wanted to increase the range of this riff, you can tap with the right hand a note on the fretboard and pull off. So classic riffs sound like this. Usually with tapping it's played quite fast. But I'm just going to give you a tapping exercise that will help you develop this technique. That's a great little trick to pull out whenever you're entertaining friends. First finger goes on the 5th fret. Now the third finger is going to go on the 8th fret, and I say third because usually you'd use the 4th, but you want the strength in this third finger because it's going to be doing a lot of work. First note you pick, you hammer onto the 8th fret, and with the right hand you use the third finger to tap at the 12th fret. Now many people will use the index finger like this, and they'll tuck the plectrum, if you can see my right hand, underneath the third finger. Now that is fine if that's what you want to do. You can tuck it in like this. It's quite a thing that you actually need to practice, is putting the plectrum from a picking position, placing it under the third finger with the thumb and tucking it in, and that leaves the index finger then free to tap around the fretboard. I don't like that approach because I think it takes up too much time and too much effort moving the plectrum into position. So I use my third finger here, which will feel a little bit more unnatural to tap with initially, but I think it's worth the extra effort just to make it a little easier to switch from playing to tapping. Okay, so the riff. First, 5th fret and 8th fret here, tapping on the 12th. Once you've got the tap down, try and make sure that it's sustaining. You're going to have to tap with a bit of force to get that there. Then you're going to have to pull off with the third finger. Now I push in this direction. So I tap, push down towards the floor until it pings. Then the third finger is going to have to do its job by pulling off, and you're at the beginning of the riff again. Then you just repeat it. For as long as you want. Now you're going to have to start off very slow, and gradually there'll be a moment in your playing when, if you do that enough, it will then be very easy to gradually speed up, and it's all to do with this muscle memory that I keep going on about. If you practice slow and accurate, it takes roughly 100 times playing something perfectly before it's then in your muscle memory, and you'll find if you play it perfectly 100 times, you'll be able to speed it up without actually having to think too much about what you're doing. And after a while it kind of blurs into like a sort of blurred sound of notes and craziness that's going on there. And that's why tapping is so effective, and that's why so many people have heard it and sort of thought, wow, what's that? It's because you can literally play things that were impossible with just a left-hand approach. So with that one exercise, start practicing that on its own to develop your tapping technique. And I'm going to give you one more idea of how you can use tapping to improve your basic improvisation or lead guitar skills. When you're improvising, it's a really good idea or it might not be an improvisation, it might just be trying to come up with melodies or interesting creative things. It's really cool if you can actually tap at 12 frets higher than wherever you are playing. If I explain it, because I just explained it really badly then. If you play a 5th fret, and then you play, let's say, the 7th fret, and I had a really dull melody that went, that was my melody. If I wanted to tap a note to make it a bit of a tapping riff, it's a really good idea to play it at the 12th fret, 12 frets higher than where you're playing. So the 7th fret here, 12 frets higher would be here. The 19th fret here. Or the 5th fret would be at the 15th. So if I'm playing an improvisation, it can be quite nice to just throw in a random tap note 12 frets higher than where you're actually wanting to play it. Because it's such a wide leap from where you are playing here to get to the tap note that it sounds unexpected and quite cool. And it's a great way of developing this picking, tapping approach. Try not to think of them as two separate techniques that you have to use. One picking, one tapping. You're supposed to try and flow as much as possible with your music. And this is a great little exercise. I'm going to teach you that riff that I just played, because it combines hammer-ons, pull-offs and tapping. Okay, so you start at the 4th fret, not the 4th fret, sorry, you start at the 8th fret with the 4th finger on the B string. You're pulling off to the 5th fret with the 1st finger, then you're basically coming down the pentatonic minor scale here. That's the first 3 notes. The next 3, so you've got, then you're going to hammer on to the 7th fret here, and you're going to tap 12 frets higher than that 7th fret and try and get it to sustain out as long as you possibly can. So that again. Make sure that the last 2 notes are hammered on and tapped. The reason being, if you try and pick the first note, the second note, and then try and reach the tap, it's going to be very difficult because you've got to pick tap. Whereas if you do hammer-ons, it buys the right hand enough time to get that tap note. So you have a full riff that sounds like this. And it's a cool little way of building in tapping into improvisation. Tap a note that's 12 frets higher than wherever you're fretting, and it will sound cool, no matter where it is.